We engage in a hackathon of 3 days, 150 students from our EDEC program for strategy, organization and consulting. We had 50 partners on site and we had 10 facilitators between EDEC staff and our colleagues from ARUP, the professional service company working in the building industry.
Very excited, motivated, energetic students with lots of ideas, opinions, a lot of interesting discussions.
I think we have, as a leading player in our industry, together with many of the other partners here, we have a responsibility to demonstrate leadership in the industry.
The biggest challenges for the building industries is to have a holistic approach. And that is the big strength of what we did today, actually putting all those complementary people from the construction industries together. It gives a bit of a taste and a bit of a possibility to have a quite holistic approach, and it was in there in many of the challenges, and that's the biggest added value we can have.
Yeah, ADEO is one of the big players in the industry, so we do have responsibility to cooperate, and I think there is a big deal of innovation in the industry. That is the way it is organized today, so we need to invent new type of cooperation and offer for the end customer.
I think one of my biggest learnings from this hackathon, working as a team, was to understand the power of collaboration.
Well, first I'd like to thank EDEC for organizing that event, that hackathon. We were able to identify and start tackling some key issues for the industry.
Hello? Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for that. On behalf of the EDEC Fit Chair and ARUP, I would like to welcome you at this innovation conference on future business models in the building industry. I'm Bram Rozens. I'm an innovation project manager here at EDEC, and I'm also a senior consultant at Robeck Hager and Creative Doc. And I have the honor to host this stage here today. Very happy to do so. In the next 2 hours, we will first get a short introduction by Professor Robeck and Martin Pejsa about the project, about the challenges. Now it's working? Okay. About the challenges we've been working on. And then after, we see 5 great video pitches by our students. Our jury will try to find the best pitch. We have a panel also that will have a short discussion, the panel of heavyweights in the industry, and I don't mean this literally. But first of all, we have Michelle Sisto. She's the Associate Dean of Graduate Studies here at EDEC Business School. She works with faculty, with managers, administrators, corporate partners to ensure delivery of top quality, innovative education that develops students into market-ready and leadership professionals. And I think she's doing a great job because some of you might have seen that EDEC now moved up 3 ranks on the recent Financial Times school or business school ranking. So we're now, I think, on the 7th position. So please welcome her on stage and give her a big applause. Michelle Sisto.
Thank you very much, Bram. And very, very warm welcome to EDEC. I know when I look around our partners and our students, certainly many of our partners, I had the opportunity to meet some of you last year. And it's a wonderful treat to see the students as well, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about your projects today. ADEC Business School is a school that embraces its role both in forming future generations and in safeguarding future generations and their interests. There's several new initiatives at ADEC beyond the one that you're going to be sharing today. We launched this year the ADEC Risk Climate Impact Institute. And the goal of this Climate Impact Institute is within the continuation of ADEC's research in finance, is really to look at and become a world reference in how is climate change impacting the economy and the financial industry. And also, very importantly, how can the financial industry play a role in impacting positively climate change? Another new initiative, and René Robuck is also going to be the chair of this initiative, is recently founded with UNESCO, and it's a new chair for organizational anticipation, resilient leadership, and educational innovation. 3 areas that are very much at the heart of what we like to do here at ADEC. And of course, today, we're focusing on the future of projects, which is run by our FIT chair. There's really a dual purpose to this future of projects. On the one hand, it gives our students a wonderful opportunity to be challenged by current challenges facing the industry. They're able to look at real-life challenges, think out of the box, and identify desirable solutions for the future. On the other hand, it's a wonderful platform to work with our partners and give them a look into possible futures for the industry and help inform their choices and invite them to co-innovate with our professors and with our students. In a time of uncertainty, it's particularly important that our personal and our organizational choices are guided by these desirable futures. Optimism is important, but at ADEC, we don't see this as blind optimism. We see this as informed optimism. Our aim is to inform our students and both to help them learn to think out of the box so that they can develop this optimism for building a desirable future. On behalf of ADEC, I would very much like to thank our FIT chair for organizing this platform, our students, of course, for their engagement, and all of our partners for the time and the energy and the enthusiasm that you bring to these projects and allowing our students to tackle these important subjects with you today. When I was looking across the panel of partners that we have partners from Belgium and from Britain and from Switzerland and from France and from Germany and other countries. This international bringing together of experts across different facets of the building industry, working with our students from all over the world, from all over Europe, from all over Asia, North America, South America. This bringing together and sharing of vision is a huge win-win-win, I think. It's a win for industry, it's a win for our professors, it's a win for our students, and hopefully it turns into a big win for our planet as well. So I thank you all very much for your engagement and really looking forward to learning more about your projects today. Thanks.
And we would also like to thank you, Michelle, for allowing such an innovative way of teaching and doing such a project with all the students. Next on stage, we have the two real hosts, I would say, of this day, which are Professor René Robuck and Martin Pejsa. They will, in a minute, explain you a bit more about the project, why they've set it up, and the different challenges. So René Robuck is director of the FIT chair. He's a professor in strategy. He's known for his, I would say, groundbreaking work in foresight and showing how foresight can have impact in organizations. And of course, apart from that, he's the visionary mind behind this project. And then we have Martin, and please, Martin, also join René on stage, who is Global Circular Economy Service Leader within Arup, and has been working with public sector clients, blue chip firms on the AEC industry, particularly focusing on ECG, sorry. So give them a round of applause.
So welcome also from my side. It's a huge pleasure to see you all together here. We have been fighting in this together, we have been thinking in this together, and we've come up with some good ideas. So I'm really looking forward to see those ideas. We do need a lot of ideas. We have 8 billion people on this planet. All of them would like to have affordable, livable, and nice places to live. That's not easy. It's even less easy because we are facing an industry challenge of an industry which is very fragmented. In particular, what we need is to renovate our building stock. And normally we should be, to reach our climate change commitments, a level of 3% of renovation of the building stock every year. And we are kind of at 1%. And through this project, I think we discovered a lot of reasons why this is the case. And what makes me very optimistic, as Michel was pointing out, is that we find a lot of things which we can actually do together. I think what is also interesting for me to reflect is that in this type of setting, we are not very often during our studies, not very often as industry partners. And if you wonder what really brought us all together here, then it was a conversation I had with Jean-Guillaume Despature, who is the chairman of the Somfy group. And many of you know Somfy as the leaders of roll shutters. But one observation he made very early on when we discussed was to say, well, if you want to create real change in an industry which is so fragmented, and there's about 220,000 installers, for instance, which represent the renovation industry in France, all of them working on different elements of renovation, you need to bring these partners together. And in a time where we're all very, very busy, where there's a lot of challenges on that industry and the supply chain, external challenges from the geopolitical tensions, etc., I'm extremely grateful to have had the chance to work with over 20 companies in the overall program, which started already last year. And the 7 companies you see up here who said, well, we're going to even step up the effort, work with you together 3 days on a hackathon to innovate together. That makes me very humble and very happy, so I want to use this chance that I'm standing here to thank them very much on our behalf and invite us all to celebrate this moment together. So thank you very much. So then we had some big challenges along 3 axes, which Martin is much better equipped than me to represent that. So give a welcome to Martin.
Thanks, René. And I'm also really grateful seeing so many people in this room, not only the industry, but especially also the next generation that is hopefully going to address the challenges. So I'm going to introduce you a bit into the challenges that have been pretty much the foundation for this project. But I want to start with the challenge that we were facing when we set up the program, because I'm also grateful that our partners and clients challenged us to, let's say, refocus a bit, do deep analysis on policies, on customers. So there's a whole story and a whole program that we have been running before we actually ended up with those challenges. And I can also remember that there was a huge but also positive fight among all the partners to make sure that they are putting kind of their challenges at the heart of the project. And the good thing is that these are no individual challenges, but they are collective challenges. And I think that's one of the strongest signals that I'm also getting from this program. The external context has changed so dramatically that there's not going to be innovation in isolation anymore. So partners along value chains, in some cases even competitors, are starting to kind of rethink the way they operate their business, and they collaborate and they co-innovate. And this is what these challenges essentially are about. We had 3 vertical themes throughout the project. One was on rapid industrial renovation. The other one was on digital building operation. And the third one was on circular materials and value chains. And the challenges that you see here basically reflect that. 1 and 2, how can we accelerate deep renovation of residential houses? Because that is what contributes most to achieving climate change or climate targets and being consistent with the 1.5 degrees. So those 2 challenges focus on a B2B and a B2C context. And I think it's not really a question if there are challenges. I think the big challenge is how to actually address that, how to access the markets and the customers to really accelerate that, because the conditions from a policy perspective, even from a customer demand and from a finance perspective, seem to be all there. It's really just about making that move now and the step. Challenge 3, realizing the value of digital twins. That's also something that is floating around since almost 15 years. We're talking about building information modeling, digital twin. The key question is who is actually creating and capturing value with that, and what are the potential customers? This is what this challenge is about. And challenge 4 and 5 focus on sustainable offerings and circular value chains. Again, one focused on B2C and one focused on B2B. Here, it's getting much more complex because also circular economy as an umbrella theme is floating around since years. We are talking about not less than an entire systemic change of value chains of economies, and you as industry partners are kind of within that change, and you can help accelerating speed, getting solutions to customers, and by that also accelerating that overall shift. So with that, I hand over back to Bram.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, René. Give Martin again a nice applause. And with that, we're almost ready for the videos, but before that, we want to briefly present you also the jury. They will, in the end, decide which of these 5 pitches will win the third, second, and first prize this year. So I would like to welcome on stage, first of all, Emmanuel Jumar from Somfy, the Innovation Director from Somfy. Give him an applause. Second, we have Grégoire Morinot, Strategy and Sourcing Director at Rexel. Then we have Eric Risser, working for TERREAL as the European market, as the Marketing Director. We have Miguel Di Fanti, working on the group innovation as a Group Innovation Director at Georg Fischer. And last but not least, Christina Pedersen from VELUX, the Senior Global Strategy Manager. So a very nice jury that we have here, and I would like to ask a couple of questions to our jury. So maybe first of all, Miguel, why are you so excited about these pitches of the students?
So, hello, also from my side. Well, I have seen how quick the students picked up during these 1.5 days that we could spend together, and the brain power, the curiosity and interest into the topic. And then they had a presentation to us short afterwards, and these were already really interesting. So my expectation for today is pretty high, I would say, according to this.
Cool. Then the next question I would like to ask to Christina. What is for you important in a good pitch?
That is a very good question. And I will try to take my own medicine, because I think it's important to be very clear and very short about what you're trying to present. And I think it needs to be the what. is the first parameter. What is it you're trying to fix? Really understand the problem. Spend some time truly understanding the nature of the customer's problem that you're trying to solve. And then the how, of course, which is not only a plan, but usually also scenarios and capability assessments and way more complex than just a simple solution, right? So the problem and the solution very clearly communicated, and then do it in a way where you have the head and the heart connected, right? So you really sell it so I can feel why I need to invest or support or connect you to people that will enable your dream.
Cool. I'm sure that our pitches will do that, our pitch videos. Maybe a final question for Emmanuel. So also hearing Christina's input, what are you looking for in content-wise in the pitches?
Well, if it comes about innovation, innovation is about solving, you said it's solving a problem in the life of our customer. So I think the first criteria will be this one, how well you will be able to put a spark in the eye of your customer, a smile on their face, because you are actually solving an actual problem to them. So that definitely will be for me the first criteria. And there will be another criteria, which is because we all share a similar problem, which is sustainability and sustainability of the building industry. I think also how much the innovation makes sense on the long run, how this innovation is helping the industry to solve this sustainability topic will be definitely also another criteria.
Very good, thank you so much. Please give them again a nice applause. Then I would say let's take a seat again and enjoy the nice videos. Maybe some final practical things for during the videos. First of all, it will be possible to vote also for the best video pitch after after the 5 videos. So please already start thinking in your mind, what video did you think was the best video pitch? A bit separate from the content, so really how it was presented. And then we also have an award from the audience here for that. We will have a QR code that you can scan and where you can vote after the videos. During the video, I would also ask the team that is normally presenting this video, so that owns this video, to come on stage, and also the mentors that guided them throughout the process to come on stage. After the video, we will have some questions from Renee, some very difficult questions that for sure you will answer perfectly. And there will be a group picture. So then we take quickly a group picture with the team and with the mentors, and then we move on to the next video. So if that is all clear to you, we are ready to show you the first video.
We know times are hard, with the political tension, the recession, and the sustainability challenges. Imagine a young couple with kids and no time, and they want to renovate their house. Can you think of the questions they might have? How much would it cost? Is there any government help they can get? Maybe some guidance on how to proceed? And lastly, are there any financing options available? Presenting our platform, Renew.
Take a look at our platform. It's super easy to use. Just click on Create Your Project. We have 3 major consumer types. Number 1, people who know what they want to renovate. Number 2, people who know how much they want to spend. Number 3, people who have no idea but are looking to comply with regulatory changes.
Once you've identified yourself, tell us a little bit about your house. Where the house is, how big the house is, the materials that were used, the current energy efficiency of the house, and the date of construction. And then tell us a little bit about yourself. And click Generate Results. And since we follow the GDPR conventions, your data is completely safe with us.
And now, we wait for an intelligent algorithm to do the work.
And voila! Congratulations! You're qualified for the subsidy provided by the French government. 3,000 subsidy for your renovations. In addition to that, we'll also show you the sustainability impact that you're creating. And we'll also give you a monthly estimate of the savings you'll create in your utility bills. In addition to that, thanks to our financing partners, we'll also give you an option to finance the project at the same go or spread it over a few years. 20,000 at the same time seems like a big amount, but $343 a month to renew your house doesn't seem like a lot.
Our platform is a network of expert and reliable partners.
So it's at this point that the match happens with all of our suppliers, architects, designers, and most of all, installers. It's with these installers that we understood that there's a big pain point in the industry, and what we want to do is to develop a network able to reduce the friction in the industry and able to directly put you in contact with the right person at the right time for the right project.
And now you're probably asking yourself, how much money can we generate with this idea? In order to answer this question, we first had a look at our competitors. What they all have in common is that they are providing their services for free. But what can differentiate us from them is the region where they are offering the services. In France, there are about 7 million houses, and within the next 13 years, 13 million of them require renovation. This leads to a market opportunity of about 190 billion euros in the next 13 years. If we provide our service at first in the cities of Lille, Strasbourg, Bordeaux, and Marseille, we have a total obtainable market opportunity of 1 billion euros in the next year. If we would like to scale this opportunity, we can move to Rennes, Toulouse, Montpellier, and Nice in order to yield a 60% growth rate for year 2. Does that sound like a nice idea?
Our platform aims to help young homeowners to renovate their houses by answering the most pressing questions and making the process as quick and as hassle-free as possible.
We help you save time and money, and you help us save the planet.
All right. I think if you don't mind, you can also bring sort of all your other team members, if you want, on stage as well. I think it's a nice opportunity to show all these faces who have been working so hard. And what is also nice to see the faces of the partners. So anyone who has worked with Team 1, please join us also on stage, because what was fascinating about this project, how we run it, is that in the hackathon, we've been locked up in one of the nicest places in Lille, which is our new Jean Arnaud campus, but we also had to work really hard together. And that was between the partners, between the students. And that's something which I would like to celebrate here as well. Wonderful to see you all here. So how was it seeing your video on such a nice place and in dark screen, in cinema-like?
Exciting. What would you say?
Yeah, pretty exciting. I never thought we could have pulled it off, but we did at the end.
Well, great work. I liked it. The questions I'm asking are representing the investors, if you want. So we're asking ourselves, well, if we would be investing into that idea, what could be the challenges you're facing? So I think the first question I was asking myself is when I was seeing the numbers you were sharing with the number of houses and so on, it's really that we are targeting customers which have in particular this pain of running such a project themselves and how to get to the subsidies and so on. You pointed that out quite well. How many do you think would be in those cities or in those first wave attainable by such a business model?
I think what you're talking about is the uncertainty as a barrier for people to renovate their house, because they don't really know what is coming, how much does it cost, how long does it take. And we also have asked ourselves this question during the 3-day hackathon, and we had a look at a study saying that about 18% of the people who consider renovation for their house step back from their plan because of uncertainty. But we think that we have provided a solution that aims to take away this uncertainty from the customer. And because of this solution and because of the goal-oriented French mentality, we think that about maybe 50% of those 18%, so about 1 million house owners in France are stepping away from the idea of renovating the houses, but the remaining 12 million are going to do it within the next probably 13 to 15 years.
Exciting. We also had a very good discussion this morning around, well, can we find specific types of houses to accelerate actually through more standardization, more industrialization of the actual project. So that's something which can be combined potentially with that as well. Now, one thing you will need to do here is to bring together different types of installers into one project. Today, they're actually quite busy already. So what are your thoughts how to incite them to work with you?
Thank you. Thank you so much, first of all, for following the presentation. I hope you liked it. And in our conversation with all the partners, we understood that the biggest gap in the industry right now is to be able to coordinate all the installers and coordinate them in the relevant projects. So first of all, this was our first approach. And we understood that the best way to do this is to be able to create a booking system for them, to create a platform that allows them to have all the information centralized and to be able to reduce the laydown time between projects. At the same time, the partners that are here today, as well as the architects, are going to be able to focus mostly on the relevant projects for them. So for example, for architectural firms, it's going to be easier to focus on big and more revenue-allowing projects rather than smaller projects that might take a lot of time and at the same time don't grant the same result. And on the other hand, partners can also have a direct access to the B2C market and not only focusing on B2B market. And all the data gathered can be used for R&D purposes to improve the products that they have and to better tailor them to the customers. And of course, there's the opportunity for upselling because via a platform like this, you can, of course, upsell because you are offering a solution that is more holistic and that includes all the steps of the process.
Okay, very exciting. 2 points I certainly retain is, okay, we're going to save also them from hiring a secretary, all of those installers, because they're going to get their bookings and their commerce and maybe even their invoicing from the platform. That's a very exciting idea. And certainly something to drill a bit deeper into. I think many will be very happy if you take that away from them, I'm pretty sure. Now, when you think about the market today, what are the biggest competitors which you would take maybe inspiration from, but which you might also be fearing, as these are the ones we need to buy? Who do you think you see there?
That's a very interesting question because we identified close to 15 partners, 15 competitors, and but we've narrowed them down to 2 major competitors that we will have because they're the only 2 players that provide end-to-end solutions like we do. It's Easy by ADF, and the other one is called Hemea, which is a startup based in Paris. So I think there are 3 ways we can beat our competitors. The number 1 is the network effect. Both the competitors are more or less a company that vertically integrated towards the consumers. So it's not a network, it's just a mere vertical integration. They're finding a different way to reach their consumers. So the number of choices that they can bring into the market is very limited. We have a wide range of choices. And if you look at it from the company's perspective, the number of resources they have are very limited. But in the platform, we can leverage all of our partners and all of their expertise to make sure that everyone is there. The second reason is the scope of expansion. Since they're very hyper-local in the market right now, they have no scope of expanding into different geographies, but we do. Because we can leverage on the logistical and warehousing capacities of all of our partners and move to different geographies. And one more thing to add there would be, with our current distribution channels of banks and housing brokers, we can easily disrupt the B2B market as well. No investment, and you have a whole new market that opens up for you. And the final one is a lean model. It only costs about 500K to develop the entire platform. That is the CapEx. And going forward, you'll only have OpEx, which is extremely low and extremely less risky compared to any of the competitors that I mentioned now, because they are carrying the risk of the equipment, the human resources, and essentially the entire process. They're carrying the risk. We're going to spread over all of our partners.
Okay, so partner recruitment might still need to be added to your cost list, but other than that, a wonderful detailed discussion. Thanks very much. I think we want to have every team sort of here in a way that we can take a good picture. So I'm looking also our expert picture maker here. So we would need to squeeze together a little bit, and I think that is the moment where I would like to thank you very much for an incredible work for a very short period of time in just one course. And no, we want the partners as well. We want the partners as well. So that's all together in a team. Wonderful. So that's your applause, and thanks very much. So thanks again, very impressive what you put together in such a short period of time. It's just a course in which you're working. You haven't been working on this full time. Amazing job. Already looking forward to the next one. Second one on building renovation. This time, however, with a B2B focus. So business to business. I know that our colleagues from Rexel will be listening attentively. Wonderful. So welcome on stage, Team Novus, and please again the partners who have contributed to the ideas, to the questions being answered. Please join us on stage. Now I will want to quiz you first and utilize your fresh eye on that industry. Now the industry partners and us and everyone knows we're not renovating enough. But what do you think is the main obstacles which you could discover in that project?
That's a very wonderful question. So the biggest obstacle, we believe, is the unfragmented nature of the market. And if it wasn't so, we would not be all sitting in this auditorium right now. This is what the partners believe is the biggest problem, and they wanted to be part of the change. And with Novus, we can help them be the change. So to give you a few examples, currently the biggest obstacle, as I mentioned before, is the unfragmented nature of it, all of the things. A builder doesn't have a technical know-how to recommend retrofit to customers beyond pricing. The architect doesn't have the digital skills to integrate digital elements in their designs. And for suppliers, they offer installers that are only fit for their own particular product. So what our platform does is it connects a multifaceted approach where information, finances, and operations flow through to incorporate a singular, a unique value proposition for our client, which means it makes it much more easier for clients to retrofit and renovate, making the 30 million possible in the future.
It's a very interesting thought also, how to make these installers actually a shared pool, which is not the case, as you say, and in a market where installers get scarce, more and more scarce, actually the instinct might be I keep installers as close as possible to myself so that at least my products get installed, while sharing this in a pool could be actually a way forward. So that's an interesting thought I will retain from this. Now, maybe same question to you as to the team before. How do you see the competitive landscape? Who would be the biggest competitor?
I would hand the mic over to the expert now.
There you go.
Yeah, that's an important question, to check the competitors on this landscape. But however, what we identified that there are competitors, but there are very few competition which integrate the whole our decentralized construction value chain. And as my colleague answered, that our platform is not only just a solution towards the consumer at the end to check on the retrofitting of their needs, but also a centralized platform to integrate the construction value chain by bringing together builders, architects, and installers together to work in projects. Secondly, as our focus is B2B, we focus on much more scalier projects. And whereas most of our competitors focus on retrofitting in their energy efficiency, it is just one aspect of our retrofitting potentials and services that we provide. Hence, most of the competitors fall upon such as like FE or Litobox as an installer in the broader scale of our business value chain model. And third, most importantly, our support from our partners and within the operations and the technical expertise that they provide, such as Georg Fischer, GOLDBECK, Etex, Rexel, VELUX, etc. They provide us with the technical expertise that we can also provide towards our installers and create a much more circular value chain. For example, like providing training and certifications for their installers for current expertise and also in the future. This is how we integrate like the whole disrupted model, bring them together and stand apart.
Okay, wonderful thought there. So you're saying there is also a training mission for you here to bring installers together to make sure that they can help each other understand each other's field, but also move upwards with more digitalization, more electronics entering solutions and so on. Very interesting thought, which is not easy, changing curricula in institutions where you educate. But we've also been successful here, so maybe there's some hope. So thanks very much. Let's have a picture also with you. Where did we do it? Just here. And yeah, move together a bit. And that is lovely. And that's your applause. Thanks very much. Thank you. Wonderful job. Thanks, Julien. Now, that was two teams working on the first challenge of renovating at scale. Now we're coming to another challenge, which is the digitalization of the operations. And that comes in two facets. One is the operations to save energy and to make the operations less costly, but also to enhance the product. So many big buildings, they want to adapt heavily to the new ways of working, etc. So let's listen to the pitch of our third team on digitalization and the digital twin.
Since the COVID-19 pandemic, people have started working in hybrid modes, transitioned into online shopping, and tapped into the digital world. Suddenly, everything seems to be on the internet. As businesses have adapted to the new online working style and started offering online shopping experiences, they no longer find the need to lease more large commercial buildings in order to carry out operations. The demand for large commercial spaces has drastically decreased. Some companies have even transitioned to a complete online presence. So, who's affected by this? Large commercial building owners. Their building's market appeal is decreasing day by day. Many of them aren't even able to lease their properties. Moreover, every business wants a smart building with good amenities, up-to-date building technology, work-friendly interiors, aesthetics, and the list goes on. In addition, EU has set an ambitious goal of net zero by 2050.
Taking Alfred's example, the owner of Staples Center in Germany. Alfred Benjamin, a 48-year-old, is in retail business and likes to travel. What situation is he in? He is unable to lease his commercial center and is skeptical about the return on investment after renovation. Furthermore, he is partially worried about the carbon footprint and is unaware of the potential of a digital twin. Bearing high maintenance costs of the center, he is considering to demolish it and build a smart building from scratch. However, he is unaware that this has a long-term impact. A spike increase in carbon footprint of 30 to 40% for the next 4 to 5 years, embodied carbon. Adding up to another major problem in construction industry, highly polluting and very high emissions of greenhouse gases. Approximately 30% of global emissions are attributed to building sector. Within EU, building sector accounts for 40% of total energy usage and 36% of total carbon emissions.
Wouldn't it be just simpler to renovate? Emissions through renovations account for just 1.14% compared to 30% through demolition and reconstruction. And that's where we come in. Erenov, a solution to transform Alfred's commercial building that supports him in his journey of renovation. Once we are contracted with Alfred, the first step would be to scan his building using a laser technology. Scanning with a laser technology enables quick capturing of the building's data. We invest upfront to collect data and process it, and thanks to our financing partner, Deutsche Bank. Our software then provides a smart renovation plan, keeping in mind a good design, carbon footprint, and energy management. You can see the renovation in action through our solution's augmented reality surface in real time and can optimize his design based on flexible and adaptable recommendations provided by our software for a smarter workplace, a shopping center, or even a hotel. Additionally, he can then avail the EU financial aid and benefit from the financing options by our banking partner. Alfred's commercial center is then refurbished by our industry partners. Post-renovation, he can track his carbon footprint and energy savings on a dashboard. The result being increasing demand for his commercial center, reduction in his carbon footprint, energy savings, and lower labor costs. Alfred can now rent his building for a higher price now, with a renovation done right from the very beginning. It's a win-win for Alfred and the planet.
Compared to our competitors in the market, we differentiate ourselves by providing the right technology, the right support, at the right time. Our solution is easily deployable, B26 certified, and is backed by market-leading and established companies in the building industry. Our solution offers support throughout the renovation process, visibility on return of investment, decreases carbon footprint as a response to climate change. We charge a fixed fee based on the built-up area for initial data collection and providing recommendations through our software solution. Post-renovation, we charge a yearly subscription fee for the software in addition to 45% of the energy savings on a year-on-year basis.
The renovation market for large commercial buildings is around 77 billion in Germany alone, and it's growing at a rate of 4.5% every year. There are existing government subsidies and more are yet to come. It's time. Reduce your carbon footprint. Don't demolish. Let's renovate together with the new Erenov solution.
Wonderful. Welcome on stage. Well, first of all, congratulations for tackling a highly technical topic here. Recently, I had the chance to visit some of our ADEC alumni in London who are investors in real estate, so asset owners, and they are very much looking towards what do we do with this embodied carbon in those buildings? What do we do in managing these buildings better? So it's a very hot topic also for our ADEC community. And you've been tackling that. Now you have a very compelling story to tell here, which starts with changes in the way we work and occupancy of buildings. What would be a good indicator for you, which you would suggest us to track to understand whether that trend is real and how big that trend is?
Oh, well, thank you for the question, and good afternoon, everyone. So I would like to start with a bunch of statistics. So globally speaking, around 56% of the companies are allowing flexible working conditions, that is home-based working, and around 16% of the companies have completely transitioned to a remote-based setting. Now, due to the rapid innovations and developments of the online working technologies, around 64% of the employees at a global level think that home-based working is the new normal. And around 2/3 of the employees who are already working in a home-based setting are very reluctant to go back to work. So in this case, companies are finding themselves in a very, I would say, weird situation because they're not able to do anything. They are offering a lot of flexible working options, and this is not only for any performance considerations, but it is mostly for retaining the talent in the company. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So companies who are right now leasing commercial centers for their offices or already have their own offices are reconsidering on how to use these assets or whether they really need it or no. So they might even stop leasing these commercial spaces or even sell those assets. So leasing a new commercial building would be just a cash burn for them. So, this is a huge problem for asset owners because the current market holds a huge tendency of uncertainty, and the uncertainty is not only on the economic conditions, but also in the evolution of trends in office working styles. So, these owners are, they want to demolish their buildings or even sell their properties. So, and some of them are even offering flexible leasing styles. So maybe on a monthly, renting on a monthly basis or even at lower prices. And we think that in the short term, this might be beneficial, but in the longer run, especially within EU, companies would be more attracted to the buildings that have low carbon emissions, and they want to comply to the EU regulation of net zero by 2050.
Very, very sobering numbers. I wouldn't have expected them to be so high in terms of who might leave such buildings, such office buildings. So thanks very much for that. I think the question about reducing your carbon footprint is also very much linked to this embodied carbon. Can you explain to us what embodied carbon actually means?
Sure. So basically embodied carbon, sorry. So there are three phases basically if you look in a building's life cycle about carbon, overall carbon footprint. So first is embodied carbon, the second is operational carbon footprint, and the third would be end of life cycle. So the embodied carbon, it usually accounts for about 64% in the overall carbon footprint of a building's life cycle. So this portion would be your manufacturing, while the transportation, the construction of a building at that point of time. So this is the major portion which accounts for about 64%. Then you have the operational side, and which is including maintenance and renovation of the building, all these things, which accounts for about 24%. This gives us in total of 84%. Then we have 88%, I'm sorry about that. Then we have 12%, which is the end of building life cycle, the end of building, which is usually in the demolition side. So the embodied carbon, the major phase is like 64% on the manufacturing front and the transportation.
Okay, very interesting. So that means also that when regulation is getting more attention on that, then that's when firms are sitting with these carbon budgets, which are already quite filled. I think what is interesting also to ask ourselves is, and I had that, as I said, personally when I was talking also to real estate asset owners and so on, that you're realizing they seem not to get so prepared for that, even though it's sort of hidden in plain sight by the regulation. Do you have an explanation for that? So why is it so difficult for asset owners, for real estate investors to get ready for this new regulation around embodied carbon, around also a new carbon restricting regulation?
Okay, thank you so much. It's a lot of question in one actually. So I will start with first, like the actors in the building industry exactly know when the manufacturing of building materials, especially if I talk about cement and steel, is conducting 10% of entire global CO2 emissions. And if I talk about embodied carbon, is the mandatory analysis now for the entire life cycle of from facility creations to deconstruction or demolition. So firstly, the European Commission's addressing now, they included the what we can call embodied carbon into the regulations, and it's called an EPBD. It's called an Energy Publications Building Directive, and it's resulting that the constructions company need to declare for each cycle phase of the constructions, and it will be reflect to declare to the owners of the clients. They need to declare on clients' needs, and by 2027, the building of more than 2,000 square meters, they need to do an LCA, it's called life cycle assessment for their buildings, and it will be regulate the publicly, is called the energy building performance certificate. Mm-hmm. So if I talk about when we are working with our partners, the main thing we identify that for the building industry is driven by the client's needs. So we actually need to work with our asset owners requirement and needs, particular requirements and needs. So they want to follow the compile with the regulations are coming, but they also want to maximizing the return on investments. Mm-hmm. So at that time, what we decided and what we offer to them while ready for the moving towards the new regulations and maximizing the return on investment while reducing their cost energy and be appealing for the creating a building in future.
Mm-hmm. So very interesting observation. So you're basically saying, well, the regulation is there, you can find it, everyone can find it, but it's not hitting the desks just now, at least not from the real estate investors. Wonderful. Thanks very much. Picture time. So please join us, and you're a big group. And here's your applause. Well done. I think you must have recruited some of the other teams to become such a large team. Yeah, wonderful. Well done. So great work, working with a very difficult subject. Thank you very much. And once more, we're moving to now another challenge, which is the challenge on circularity. There's also a lot of regulation for good reasons coming into that space of buildings. And just this morning we had some very interesting discussions, how to get ready, with whom to get ready, what part of then the carbon footprint is the one which is allocated to my product and then to my scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. So let's listen to the pitch number 4. Wonderful. We just this morning had also a very interesting discussion about raw materials. So actually what is driving also circularity is the shortage of the raw materials. So there's actually some aluminium producers who tell VELUX and others, we want our aluminum back. Please give it back to us so that we can produce new windows, for example. But much of this is linked also to the question of, well, to which degree are we ready as consumers to get a subscription rather than buying? So what do you think? Did anyone give you, yeah, Mike, yes. So what do you think? What is driving from a consumer perspective this trend?
Thank you for the question. There is indeed what we think a major shift in the way we consume, I would say, everything, the way we buy, we consume products. You can see it, for example, from movies to even now food. I mean, subscription services became something that is just part of the way we consume things, and we truly believe that this model can also be applied to any products such as what you get from, I mean, a window from VELUX or any equipment that you can get from Somfy. For example, in the home appliances industry, you also get these type of subscription services or leasing model. Whirlpool is doing it, Electrolux, Miele is doing it. Also, mainly for the maintenance part, what they can bring from their experts. But yes, these are models that you have in the industry and that the customers are now ready to engage in. Another really important shift that we took into account when designing the solution is that, especially since COVID-19, homeowners are ready to spend a lot more money in their home than ever. So, I mean, to have a fashionable house, to have cutting-edge products, you can see that the spendings in these type of products increased a lot since 2020. So that's also why we think that customers are now ready to engage in a subscription service for a project like this one.
Mm-hmm, very interesting. So there's already this wave which one can catch. This wave is running. You can see it. There's in all areas of consumption, as you say. I'm buying that. What I also understood from the video is that you're saying, well, maintenance is actually something to throw in as an added advantage. So it's not just about shifting maybe the expense, but getting this extra value. That's also understood. What I've also noticed and discussed with Boulanger recently is that particularly in home appliances, this repairability driven by legislation is something very important.
Yes,
How
totally.
do you see that? Is that something which drives also your business model?
Yes, if we talk about legislation and laws in France especially, we have the circular economy the impact plan, which is working on the repairability especially, and from 2024, it will not be a repairability index anymore. It will become durability index, which will make the manufacturers to disclose not only the repairability of their products, but also the durability of the whole lifespan of the products. So we think that through this solution, like through the subscription model, as you have noticed that we have included the value that is maintenance and other frictionless benefits, added benefits for the customers. The laws also are incorporated in that solution in sense that it's giving the right to repair that is in the law for the customers, and it's really incorporating very nicely in the solution for us. So for the companies, it will be a nice way to ensure the right to repair and to incorporate the whole circularity of the products from the selling till the repairing or replacing the products in a very nice way throughout this whole life cycle.
Mm-hmm. Very good news, right? Many of us whose microwave breaks down after 2 years is thinking maybe that was already designed in so that I buy a new one. So here actually this law and the legislation around it and the rules around it will actually drive transparency, and with that then also durability of products. So that's very good news for us on the planet as well. Now, when you think about products like roof windows, products like smart home appliances, which you build into a home, it seems that if I'm giving the subscription to having that function, I need to do a lot of maintenance. So as a business owner, I might think I would need to hire an army of installers to be out there all the time. How do you see how one can tackle that challenge?
So we believe, especially for circular economy efforts, partnership and collaboration between companies is a main point in achieving this circularity. And for this reason, our idea and aim was to build a platform of installators and technical experts, both coming from the companies, the partners itself, and also from external sources, being them private individual professionals or other companies engaged in installing and maintaining products. And also the example you made before, Boulanger, we find that that company in particular could be a great partner because of their huge network of installers. And other partners could be, well, the distributors, the companies already engage in for their contracts.
Mm-hmm. So it's about pooling them together. That becomes a recurring theme, so I guess our partners are all taking notes. That is something very interesting to overcome this challenge of having not enough people there. Great discussion. Time for a picture. So you know the drill from watching the others. Wonderful. And we know the drill. The applause is yours. Good. Yes. Ladies to the front. There you go. Thanks very much. Wonderful teamwork. And now we're coming to the challenge of circularity in a B2B context. So how do we make different companies work together on that? And that's your pitch video.
250 million tons of CO2. This tremendous number represents the CO2 emissions induced by the manufacturing of construction products. Construction products and buildings are the main source of waste generation in Europe, with 30% of the total waste of the continent. One thing is for sure, the facts and figures to support the assessment are not lacking. No one can deny that it is a major issue. That is why the EU has embraced several laws to regulate the building industry. Examples of such initiatives include the CEAP. The EU's Circular Economy Action Plan paves the way for a cleaner and a more competitive Europe, mapping out 54 actions as well as 4 legislative proposals on waste. This ever-changing regulation creates difficulties for construction companies, and on a local scale it is even more complicated. Companies must be accompanied to understand the legal framework. Moreover, using reused and refurbished products at a large scale requires an expertise that the construction and building services companies don't have yet. Who says being sustainable must be complicated? Not RBD 360. Indeed, with our project RBD 360, we want to make it easy and achievable. With the help of experts from the building industry, we worked very hard for days and days to find a solution that could include all the stakeholders of the building industry. A solution that, above all, will help construction companies and renovation companies to be law compliant. A solution that enables to democratize the use of recycled products in the building service industry. And finally, a solution that includes the circular economy with a holistic approach. To start this adventure, we focused first on electrical components. Indeed, we have come to the conclusion that the challenge is in the building finishing work, because structural building work components are already easily reused. Electrical components represent a growing market with a compound annual growth rate of almost 3% in Europe by 2026. Electronic components are highly valuable assets necessary for construction. Moreover, maintenance and renovation of electrical installation is required, making our project highly profitable. The circular economy is not new, but what makes it so difficult to be embraced by companies is the lack of traceability, reliability, and systemic approach. For the traceability part, we cover the whole journey of the product from its extraction to its refurbishment and its reintroduction in the economy. We want to raise awareness on this practice to democratize it and encourage producers to provide clear information on the product's components. To deal with the reliability, on the other hand, we have a strong partnership with insurance companies, which enables us to certify our products. We have developed a unique expertise on the electrical components we sell, thanks to the license that our partners provide to us. To democratize the circular economy in the building industry, it is important to adopt a systemic point of view. It is time-consuming for construction companies to deal with several suppliers to get new and reused products. That is why we have chosen a holistic approach, providing new components and second-hand components on the same platform. Let's have a first look at what RBD 360 looks like. In our marketplace, renovation companies can find second-hand options for the products they need to buy. We deal also with companies who want to dispose their waste to be more law compliant. Electrical components are just the beginning of our long journey. We aim to expand to other highly valuable assets related to building finishing works and building services.
All right, wonderful. Welcome on stage. Now, as we welcome the team to stage, I know that my jury is already making a lot of notes about their assessments of the different teams. As you know, you will be also able to vote on the best video as an audience vote later on. So you can start making up your mind there as well. I think circularity, we all understood by now the importance. But what we could wonder about, particularly if you're saying and invoking this holistic approach, now that it means different partners need to work together. Who do you think is the least prepared part in the value chain today?
Very interesting question. So as we mentioned in the video, there are lots of regulation coming from the EU, so we think the industry is pretty ready. And anyways, it has to be ready with all this regulation coming. So we think that the suppliers, the people who want to dispose of their waste will be interested in our solution as much as people who need a certain percentage of reused assets to build their new buildings. We think that right now the only last barrier for the industry to really embrace this circular approach is that it's still restricted. The usage of second-hand assets is still restricted because of safety and security issues. But this is because of the lack of guarantees and the lack of certification. So we will provide the certification, and we will also need the help of insurance companies to provide the guarantees. And as circular economy is becoming in all sector a necessity, we think that insurance company will have no choice but to adapt very soon.
Thanks very much. Normally I would say, I mean, if you're betting on the innovativeness of insurance companies, good luck. But actually this morning we heard that also banks and insurance companies are actually ready to embrace some of those innovations. From Martin, who we'll see also later on stage, who talked about some of the projects where that actually happened. So there's some hope there on the horizon. Now, when it comes to managing circularity in different countries, we see very different approaches. Some countries, even just looking at the European Union, they are allowing the market to find solutions. In France, there's often this eco-organism which you ask to sort of take care of all of this. How do you see that going forward? Who would be your biggest competitors? What would you need to watch in the competitive landscape?
Okay, so while talking about the competitors, one could certainly think that why not the construction or the electrical companies themselves do that, right? But again, to start with, collecting all these materials from the deconstruction site is not very easy task. And in fact, is a havoc because it is completely cumbersome, all the materials. So hence, we think that we'll provide a gateway between the deconstruction companies, demolition companies, and the construction companies. So that the construction companies could focus on their mainstream tasks. Now, talking about the eco-organisms and companies like VELUX, again, they are a very big competitor for us. But the main thing is that they majorly take the responsibility of taking or dumping the liabilities of the construction companies or the component manufacturers, right? But on the other hand, what we would provide is a clear and transparent view of how these products are being used so that they could themselves generate the profits from these used products. And there are a couple of companies like Concular who also do similar task of matching the suppliers and the buyers. But as we have already mentioned, that currently the major problem lies in the guarantee and the safety aspect of the electrical components. So we would ensure that our components are very good and that can be usable, right? And hence, we would bridge the gap between these companies as well.
So that would be then also a very interesting role to play for the established companies in that space who are dealing with getting approval, already pointing fingers, getting approval from regulators to actually put that back into service. Wonderful idea. Thanks very much. That was the last team, but we still need your photo. So please make yourself into a nice group here in the front of the stage. As you do that, here's your applause. Yes, we do need 2 rows, I think. Wonderful. So with that, thanks very much to that team. Thanks very much to all the teams. This is what concludes now our session on watching the pitches and discussing the solutions. And the jury will now have to work with me as I leave the stage to Bram.
Thank you, René. Thank you, René, for hosting these pitch videos. So yes, now the jury can leave the room and make a decision on the top 3 pitches here. And in the meantime, the rest in the room can start taking their phone and scan the following QR code. And it should lead you to a nice little voting website where you can decide all together what is the best pitch video of all these 5 nice videos. I wouldn't know which one to choose, but I'm sure that you have a preferred one in mind. And with that, I also want to ask Martin to join me on stage again, because then we will have a nice little panel discussion. And maybe, Martin, you can briefly introduce the 4 panelists.
Thanks, Bram. Is that working? Yes. So, panel discussion. Now it's getting equally exciting. So I'd like to invite the panelists to come on stage and take a seat. Maybe we start with Zimai Arikan, Senior Director of Business Development and Exploration at VELUX. Zimai, if you would join us on stage. Yeah, applause, why not? Julian Neuschwander, Innovation Director, Digital Services at Rexel. And Julian, you will probably kill me for how I just spelled your surname.
Yeah, there's only one to announce it like.
Okay. Christopher Dün, Head of Building Technologies at GF Piping Systems. And Martin Pejsa, CEO at Creative Dock. So please join us on stage. I think we will share the microphones. So maybe you start step by step, just introducing yourself quickly, just who you are and what a usual Monday in your company looks like. That would be interesting, I guess, not only for me but also for the audience. And then we would enter into the discussion. When we had our pre-discussion, I think we started framing it a bit, and there were a couple of things that were important. First of all, we are just among ourselves. So this is not an interview session or a filmed thing. This is really just a personal round. So let's be open. Let's also challenge ourselves. I think we have to be very honest and direct with each other if we want to really address the upcoming challenges. And I'd really encourage you to speak openly, listen to each other, and then also kind of positively challenge yourself. So I will also really listen carefully and then respond. I think what we learned throughout the day is that yes, there are kind of massive challenges that the sector is facing, but at the same time, coincidentally, there are also massive opportunities. Another learning for me is, and I mentioned that already, partners increasingly need to collaborate to innovate, to increase scale, and kind of really identify the business cases. I think why there is so many hesitance still is that the customer demand and the potential business cases are not crystal clear yet. So there need to be a bit of homework, and this is what this whole project is about, obviously. So this is just to frame the discussion a bit. And Zima, if you could start introducing yourself.
Yes, I guess this is working. Yes, my name is Simaya Arıkan, and I work for VELUX, heading the function called Buildings of the Future. And in a short, not what we do in this function. It's a fairly new function, actually, and we define our responsibilities in 3 different areas, starting with the business exploration and innovation area. This is where we are building, actually, as we speak, new capabilities around discovering, incubating, and accelerating new business opportunities, utilizing radical innovation, startup engagement, and other open innovation relevant activities, as well as partnerships. The other areas, we have Center of Excellence capabilities in this function, where we, with our research partners and academia, create a lot of actually data around daylight, energy, and indoor climate relevant areas, which we then also basically embed in different parts of the value chain, starting from product development, but also trying to sort of like forecast future solutions that might be needed, utilizing actually this kind of like know-how as well. And the last part is where we try to position VELUX as a credible design partner towards healthier and sustainable building design. So this is basically what we do in this fairly new function.
Thanks, very good. Julien?
Hi everyone, thanks for the presentation, it was very good. So I work for Rexel. Rexel is a B2B distributor for everything which is active in the building. And my role is to lead the innovative activities. So we create services towards our customers to allow them to be more efficient, to reach new markets, and also to offer new services to their own customers. I am also in charge of all the digital activities of Rexel and of I'd say the operational side of our services. And that's a big challenge we have because our customers are facing huge changes in the markets, everything that needs to be put together to have a real impact on the buildings and our ecosystem. And we need to work with them to train them and to bring them to deliver this promise. So it's quite a big challenge.
Thanks, Christopher.
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you very much for accepting me as a partner. It's really a great experience. And thank you very much to all the students for these great presentations, videos, and also the work that you have done. So I'm heading the business unit Building Technology at GF Piping Systems. So GF stands for Georg Fischer, very old company, more than 200 years old. So what we do, basically, we produce pipes, pipe systems, valves, and all this equipment necessary to deliver drinking water to buildings, and of course also to take care of the used water, to take them out of the buildings. And in my function, there are factories all around Europe, being in Switzerland, Austria, 2 factories in Turkey, 1 in Italy, for example, and all the product management and also the innovation and sales of that business. It's a great pleasure to do that and bringing water every day to people.
Thanks. Martin.
Also, thanks for having me. My name is Martin Pejsa. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Creative Dog, and we are a venture builder, corporate venture builder. We have built over 10 years, a bit over 100 companies, which makes it 10 per year. And majority, or the biggest part, was in the financial services, in the banking and insurance, and in time we moved to other industries. And nevertheless, we keep the heritage with us. So everywhere we see the opportunities connecting insurance or banking into new industries. So that's how we got into the construction. And we have either launched or going to launch soon, somewhere around, I think now, 12, 13 ventures in the construction by itself. Some are connected with the original banking and insurance thinking. Some are actually going much further beyond. So many of the ideas that are here being presented, and well done, and thank you. We are launched or working on, or going to launch that, especially around the circularity, anything as a service. So the new business models that usually really change the whole business model of our mothers, which are usually the clients, large companies like colleagues here.
So what seems to combine all of you is quite a strategic perspective on the industry and also on the region. And I think what's clear and what has become clear is that huge pressure on decarbonization, on adopting circularity principles, and that obviously affects established business models quite dramatically. So I think this is something that is not an easy exercise. And at the same time, we see a lot of capital, for instance, in the market. We see that private equity firms, but also European Investment Bank, they're actually looking for investment opportunities into sustainable investment. So I won't go now person by person, so you can pick up the question if you want. With your strategic view, I mean, what is your mid to long term view on the industry? How fast can it actually change, given the, let's say, the preconditions in terms of fragmentation and all that, and other particular markets where you believe that are ahead, or particular typologies and geographic markets?
Please.
I can start.
Ladies
yes.
first.
Okay. Starting, the challenges we are seeing around decarbonization and then how fast the industry can move. I mean, I think it was mentioned earlier, one of the challenges we have in decarbonizing is not linked to our own operations, but basically in the supply chain. It's the scope 3, as it's called. And we actually already are, working with our partners in the supply chain, trying to identify opportunities and solutions about how we can also, as VELUX, contribute, but also push decarbonization of the materials we are using in our components. But depending on the different industries, sometimes it's much more difficult to also go through that path because of the needed investments to change technologies which will enable decarbonization, for example. And then in that case, I think it becomes much more important, how do we finance those investments, and how do we create the scale that is needed also to deliver into the business cases. And there I think it becomes more important to work with partnerships, and it doesn't even need to be the partnerships within your own value chain, but identifying basically who are the other industries who have the same challenges, and then work in a much bigger ecosystem together, and then go and find the solutions and make sure that we are scaling much faster, and we are financing, and also sharing maybe to a certain degree the risk as well, because if we just try to move individually, just partnering one-to-one, we are not going to be able to move fast enough, depending again on the different industry and the technologies needed as well.
Yeah. Anyone likes to comment on that or reflect?
Yeah, I'm absolutely 100% with you. First of all, there's this big wave of decarbonization and sustainability, and yes, we have to do this together. And I think one of the reasons is that it requires digital technology. Without digital technology, connected technologies, we will not get there. Now, we are basically, many of us, all of an industry which has nothing to do with digitalization, right? We produce windows, we produce plastic pipes. Digitalization, I don't know. Nobody of us actually really knows and knows how to apply. So we need really to strengthen all our knowledge together to actually get there. Because connected devices, digital devices are actually necessary to really make a difference here and to get into a more sustainable world. I mean, we all know this from our daily world. If we look at the GPS we use in our cars, before they were not connected, so you ran directly into a traffic jam.
I don't remember.
Today, actually, is great. This morning, I had a great experience with the connected GPS. Actually, I knew already 50 minutes before that I will run into a traffic jam. Okay, it's not maybe the best example, but that I think really is.
Good. Giuliano, what comment?
No, I think clearly what we've seen in all these projects is that we need to work in cooperation. We've been pushing some families of product, either active or passive, with very good effects on the buildings we want to retrofit. So that there's no question on this side. But if we want to create the multiply by 3 in renovation, we need to act together. And this is something we've been discussing a lot between partners, is to come up with kits and solutions which cover different aspects of what we need to push. And clearly, the digital aspect and the nearly IT side of what we're doing is the more we go with sophisticated and complex solution, bringing a lot of effectiveness, the more the job of our installers is also changing. So that's something I'm pushing a lot, is to also bring the rest of the value chain in learning for these and being able to be trained and to reach these new markets.
So, Martin, maybe, I mean, you mentioned you and your company build ventures. I mean, it seems to be a key success factor, kind of to think in ecosystems. Can you give an example of kind of where that happened and kind of what kind of collaboration there was at the heart of a case?
We have. So from our cases, when I would be trying to stick a bit with the construction, so we have one case that is around solar into block of flats, and this is actually a good example of a collaboration of few companies and regulator as well, where you would have. The end product is essentially you put a solar on the roof of the block of flats, take out all the electrometers, exchanges with IoT, and create a microgrid. And essentially, you create an investment that is the return on investment for the block of flats is somewhere 3-4 years today. So with a life cycle of 25 years, so fantastic case. That is essentially, of course, large on the CO2 impact. So really good thing. but it wouldn't happen without cooperation on one side with the regulator in order to create the microgrids. Second is with the distribution company, not to throw problems, roadblocks on the way, because we are essentially tapping into their field, because they were until now charging 20 flats and suddenly they have one as a distribution point. Third, the financing, because even though the return on investment is really good, without a bank behind, pretty much impossible, because still the investment is somewhere around 150,000 euros, and then it is a decision for the block of flats with only one wallet. Do I install an elevator for elderly, or do I put a solar and create a microgrid? I guess we would lose still. There the banking product is needed. So it's a clear example, by ourselves, no chance. It has to be a combination. Nevertheless, a clear leadership towards an end user need and problem to be solved. And then from there, everyone aligns behind it.
Yeah. So speaking of end users, I mean, also looking at the challenge videos, that seem to be pretty much like a red line, that there's obviously a lot of awareness raising to be done on the end customer side, because I mean, this is pretty much a bubble, and maybe even this, no? I mean, usual end customers are not talking about taxonomy and decarbonization day to day. So how can they be kind of incentivized, and how can we kind of influence the downstream customer demand? Because also what I got from you, Sima, it might be easy to, let's say, collaborate or join forces with your supply side, like the upstream side, because they're also very willing to innovate. But I mean, how can we actually influence the downstream customer demand? Is there any example?
I think we've had one great opportunity in the last couple of months. I mean, war is a terrible thing, and the situation in Russia, Ukraine is something we shouldn't take benefit from. But at the same time, the energy crisis we're facing now has made it clear for everyone that if we don't act right now, our bill at the end of the month for this winter is going to be crazy. So we've seen a dramatic change, and all the regulations that we have been seeing in France, for example, made very little change. But now that the prices are crazy, we see people asking for a lot of very energy efficient components, renovation of their buildings, and making a huge change in the way they consume energy. We've never had that much energy saving that we've had in the last couple of months. So it's a real game changer. So we should not only benefit from this, but we have also a lot of advocacy to continue to push. But it's very hard, because we have to get all the people involved in the value chain to be part of it. So I'd really try to use also what's happening as the global economy, politics, and things like that to try to accelerate these.
Yeah.
If I may add to that one, I think it's a very valid point. So that has definitely accelerated the movement towards, green energy supply. But on the other hand, if you are asking the customers, are they willing to pay more for circularity and questions like that, then it becomes more questionable. In our case, we are talking about, for example, a window product that has a lifetime of maybe 40 years. So I'm not so sure, at least we are not so sure, if this is a criteria at the moment. If you just leave it to the customer to choose for a, I don't know, more sustainable solution or not. However, I believe it needs to be, at least we believe it needs to be driven also by the legislation and incentivized also through subsidies as well, if we want to speed up other aspects of sustainability and not just the sort of like energy sourcing aspect of it.
And just on that, I mean, do you see from your perspective that policymakers are moving into the right direction and are providing the clarity that the industry seems to look for, or what is there anything missing?
What is missing is, I think, still there is lack of awareness and understanding. I think if you are looking at the end users and the customers and not the businesses, I think the businesses are already moving forward actually in this area. But depending on the consumer and depending on the product, I mean, if you're talking about like consumer products which you are buying on a regular basis, there people are starting to make much more conscious decisions. But when we're talking about like building components, I think there still is the legislations and the legal requirements are the main things which are driving that movement. And I actually believe it needs to be even more to move the needle much faster.
Okay.
So in the water space, I must say, unfortunately, the regulators are clearly too slow. I mean, if you deliver drinking water, of course, it has to be clean. We all know that. But from a technical standpoint, we also know we could use, for example, much more regulated material, and could deliver anyhow clean water. But the regulators, as they say, no, you can't do that. So it's clearly too slow. It doesn't really. I mean, from the technical side, we could do it. So we could provide a much more sustainable solution. So I'm with you. I think sustainability alone is not enough because the regulator doesn't give us really that play or is not pushing enough. I think you have to bring another value like reduction energy costs or whatever. I have a good example from actually a combination of the energy crisis together with the COVID-19 crisis. You know, during COVID-19, many hotels, for example, were not occupied. And that means for a hotel, of course, the loss of revenue, but also they couldn't actually guarantee any more clean water because the water stagnated in the rooms, and stagnated water actually generates pathogens, and bacteria, of course, is always a problem. So the classic possibility for the hotel was actually to heat up the boiler up to a much higher temperature than necessary, just to be 120% sure, and then to flush all the rooms. So now we have a technical solution who does not the flushing, but the circulation automatically, and therefore you could, and you can, and hotels do that, can reduce 30% of their energy cost. But it's not the sustainability at the end, it's really about the money that they can save. So it's like we saw in the fourth presentation, I think, Emily, what's in for me? It's that question. Sustainability, it's not yet enough. It's just like a given, I think.
And also what's interesting, if we look from our point of view as Europeans, we see that we have already a lot of difference between countries in Europe. But when you look at what's happening in the States at the moment and the way they see things and the way it's going on in Asia, we see with very, very different paradigm. And this is also something which is a bit scary. If you look at the total emission of what we do in Europe at this moment, it could always be improved, but is that really the key of our problem? So at some point we will need to align on a common, I know the Paris Agreement has been a big thing, and it was in Paris, so it's obviously a big thing, but it's still not making any difference.
Yes, and that's going to be increasingly a problem because many, let's say, governments, sectors, and then business models are not consistent with the 1.5 degree target yet, and that is probably adding more and more pressure. Just very practically, sticking for a bit with the circularity. I mean, would there be an option for a second-hand market, looking at your product portfolio as we speak, just very bluntly?
So we are actually testing something right now. We've seen that our customers, they face an issue first to be able to measure their carbon impact, the global impact of products they buy and they install and the way they use them. So this is something that we put together, and now we have a product called Carbon Tracker that allows our customers to measure the total impact of what they do with us. Second thing is that to be able to compensate and to be able to have a better impact, we're starting to have repaired product, refurbished products, and also second-hand products. The only issue is because in the electrical area, if it has been used once, it needs to go back to some sort of certification. We need to involve the industrial, the builders of these products to be able to reuse them. So we can at some point use them in second-hand buildings because that's part of the law. But if we want to reuse them as electrical components in a new building, we need someone to be able to certify it. And this comes back to our need in terms of the data that we are looking for, in terms of the certification from the original builder of the product. We need to go back into this circle of having these partners gathering into this common objective.
Okay, we're coming to an end, unfortunately. I could obviously continue much longer, but I got the sign that we only have 5 minutes. Last category, which is actually fun, one of my favorite categories, the wish we had question. If there's one thing that you / your company wish you'd had in 2023 to unlock substantial change with respect to innovation and sustainability, can you break it down to one thing? Can also be 2 or 3. Sima, do you want to volunteer?
Okay, I didn't volunteer. You just put me in the spot now. So, as I said, I think we need to be incentivized. I mean, the businesses and the industry needs to be incentivized more to move faster. I think, again, I wish we had much higher ambitions in terms of like carbon footprint reduction goals, in terms of like circularity goals. And I think we also are going through still a very uncertain period, trying to figure out what is the right way in terms of achieving, for example, circularity. Is it going to be through take-back schemes? Is it going to be organized through the waste management companies? There's a lot of uncertainty. We need to go through this path, but I honestly wish that we could, again, partner up much faster and talk to each other and identify these solutions much faster so that we start acting on those things instead of like still trying to figure out what is the right path.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that regulation is going to come anytime soon, short term, to make it strong. I love it. But next year, if we could come up with some sort of standard to be able to compare products throughout their life cycle and make a real assessment of what impact they have and be able to choose the best ones to answer one requirement, that'd be a great start to be able to foresee what these products will have as an impact to the buildings or wherever they're used.
Yeah, I think one biggest lever for us delivering plastic products is having bio-based plastic from feedstock. So I really would wish that the chemical production plants would deliver that, because technically it's possible. They have that in their program, but they're just not delivering it, because that would, for me, the biggest lever for any renovation, any future project.
Interesting. Martin?
I would have a strong wish towards the European companies. When I would reflect the last 12, 18 months, so we are operating Europe, Middle East, US, bit of Southeast Asia projects and ventures. And when I look at Europe, it's a bit dreadful, and the courage, the ability also to create the being very entrepreneurial and putting together a few companies together, bringing in quickly PE to put fuel into growth. This very much a very entrepreneurial spirit and good mood. I spent lots of time traveling around, and now coming back to Europe, most of the countries and the discussions are not in the fantastic mood, I would describe it. And it's really sad. I'm European and wants to live in a continent that drives and has the ambition to drive. We are the biggest purchasing power. It's 500 million people with best equipment, technology, people, know-how, money, and we are sitting here in depressions many times. It's really that's not a positive one. And the wish for the next 12 months would be sitting here with a very different approach to things.
Good, thanks. I dare to frame it slightly more positive with my global hat on. I mean, at least within Arab, we see that the Europe region is really far ahead in terms of adopting sustainability and CE principles, at least with that focus compared to other regions. In that sense, I believe there is a good spirit, there is good drive, but there are definitely certain areas that need to move much faster. I agree with that. So if I had one wish, I would definitely wish for all of us that we move to demonstration, to kind of rapid testing and and maybe dare to risk a bit more collectively. And with that, many thanks for the conversation that I really enjoyed. I hope we can continue that throughout the next year. Many thanks to all of you. And with that, I hand over to Bram again.
Thank you. Thank you, Simai, Christopher, Julien, Martin, and Martin. And with that, we come to the moment suprême from today. Some call this the Oscars of the EDEC management education. Others call it the Palme d'Or from the future of buildings. However you want to call it, it's time for our award ceremony. And I would like to invite the jury with me on stage to announce the winners of this year's Future of Buildings. You can stand up. You can stand up. Please come forward with me. So René, how did discussion go?
Well, it was really hard, but it was really hard in a good way. Very interesting points which you raised. We heard a lot of praise of how to analytically get so deep in a B2B market, which is already difficult from within if you have been working there for many years. So lots of praise for your analytic skills, how you emerged after day 2, but we still need to come up with a ranking of teams, don't we?
Yeah, and so I would like to ask the team, once your team is called out, to stand up and get a nice round of applause of the other teams. And I think, Miguel, you are the first one to share the 3rd place. And please first describe a bit why you chose this team before announcing the 3rd place.
So if you ask so, I will do so.
Thank you.
So as it has been said, I think by you at the beginning, bold statements, and we have seen it also with good analytics, really deep analytics. We heard a lot of fact. Then it's also catch the significant trend. So this group was really on the nerve of a topic, had a visionary approach from our perspective and a clear differentiation. And as an additional remark, who was made in the group also had one of the biggest, if not the biggest improvement since the last presentation that we have seen. So I would like to have the applause for the group number 3.
So the 3rd place for group number 3. You can stand up. Give them an applause, please. Well done. And then place number 2, some would call it the worst place to be on because you're only 2nd. But I think this time it's something to be very proud of. And Grégoire will tell us a bit more why you've chosen this group as number 2.
Yeah, and definitely can be proud of them, even though they're number 2. So the project we liked at place number 2, they really tackled a very important problem on our industry. They saw, and somehow, how the ecosystem in the value chain needs to be redesigned somehow. So that's really something we liked. And they came with something which seems to us as well very applicable, even though innovative. And so that team that came 2nd is Novus.
Congratulations, Novus. Very well done, and as said, this was really a nice place to be this time, to be 2nd. And then finally, we go to the 1st place of this second Future of Buildings Day. Emmanuel, you have the honor to announce it.
And I'm very pleased to do so. So we've been discussing it, and for us it was the teams that nailed down very clearly what was the problem they were solving. But not only they were able to address it from the end user standpoint, but they took care to make sure that the way they addressed the problem was also positive for all the stakeholders of the value chain. So it was really making sure that their approach was pulling forward the whole industry. And as said earlier, it's also a topic that their solution was also very transformative for us, and that we took that very much into account. Their approach would help us a lot to work better together, and therefore we've chosen the Renew project as being the awarded project.
Give them a big applause. Very well done, and thank you also to the whole jury for your great jurying, I would say. And then we have one final one. The Oscar for Best Motion Picture this year goes to, and I have to say it goes hand in hand apparently with also the content, because also with 42% of the votes, the winner was Group 1. Congratulations. And with that, we come to the end of this nice event. Not really the end, but maybe René, you first want to say some final thank you words.
Yes, there's a number of things I want to say. So first of all, I mean, my heart really goes out to all of you who have made this effort. That goes to the partners, that goes also to the students, that also goes to my team. What I want to also say is that we took actually, how it's our way, a very quick decision when we looked at all your submissions. Because initially we said, okay, we're going to give prizes to the first place and second place and third place and so on. But then we realized actually what made this project special is that we have been all in this together for the planet. So actually throughout the hackathon, throughout working with you, what really opened my heart was realizing that you're most motivated by being able to contribute to advancing the sustainability challenge which is ahead of us. So we said actually, okay, we're going to do this first place, second place, third place, but we should actually have something where we can celebrate all of this together. So we put our heads together, we said, okay, what are we going to do? And we thought what is actually really, really nice here in Lille is that we have a place which brings the old and the new and the innovative together. Which is a place called La Piscine. Some of you might know that. It's a museum which is inside an old swimming pool area. And we said we're going to invite all of you, and all of you who can make it, please don't use your private jet to come here. And we're going to celebrate together that we have been actually in this together for the planet, and that we're pushing this ball forward here at EDEC in this way. In a lot more hours you're expected to spend in a normal course is something which I think we should all celebrate together. So thanks so much.
And with that, I think maybe some final announcements. So after this nice session, we still have networking cocktails, so where all you students are also invited, and have a chat with our great corporate partners about your challenges, but also about other things you would want to discuss or learn from them. The cocktail is when you go to the reception desk on your left of the reception desk, so we can go there after this. But there is one thing, unless you have other things, that we still want to do. which is giving the floor to Christopher.
This was not combined, but I would like to address one final word from the partners. So in name of all the partners, I really would like to thank you for this absolutely fantastic experience here at Etex School. This is a fantastic school, fantastic education, and one message to all the students here. One thing you know already, this is a fantastic school and you have a great, great education here. We could see this, what you have presented here in so short time. This is mind-blowing. Now, the message I have to you is you need one more thing. The one more thing you need now is actually your mindset. And if you have the right mindset, the sky is not the limit. Thank you.
Thanks, Christopher.
Well, now my words will vanish into nothing. But I also want to thank you for being here. And there's one last thing that we want to do, which is a group picture with all of us. So everyone who's in the back, outside of the light, please come a little bit forward. We will take a picture from here, from on the stage towards the audience. So if you're in the back, please come a little bit forward. Put yourself on the rows here in the front. And then we take a final group picture before we go to the networking cocktail.
Okay, let's group together as much as possible. So just one last getting up before you get actually a drink downstairs. Let's all come together that we have a bit of a team picture there.
So you can all sit down in your chairs, and then we take the picture.
Just the ones on the upper rows, if you can come around, that'd be nice. Okay, I think we should all stand up for this, if that's okay. So let's all stand up. And now an exciting picture. Woo!